The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called exactly twice in the last 3,000 years, once for the heat-death crisis of Sector 9, once for the plague that ate thoughts. This was the third time. "They're all dead," Council Commander Zilak said, his translator struggling with the flatness in his voice. "All three of them, the finest hunters in known space, and the human is asking if someone's bringing her truck back." The chamber, built to hold representatives from 400 species across 17 solar systems, had gone completely silent. On the massive hollow screen, thermal signatures from the moon designated Hunt World 7 showed 3 cooling corpses and 1 very warm human sitting by a fire, apparently roasting something. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. "Impossible," hissed Ambassador Talana from the Predator Council. "Korvax alone has killed 17 dreadnoughts in single combat. Vexthul tracked prey across dimensional rifts. Rahil commanded armies that conquered 6 systems. They were apex predators conducting a standard hunt. They gave the prey sporting parameters: 10 rounds, 1 blade, 20-hour head start." "Yes," Zilak said. "That's what they told us before they landed." "And now? Now their flagship is scrap metal, all 3 hunters are dead, and the human just asked our rescue team if they have any marshmallows." Zilax pulled up the combat footage. "She still has 2 rounds left in her weapon. She never used the knife for combat. She's using it to cook." The audio feed crackled to life. A female human voice, clear and somehow amused. "Hello? Yeah. Hi. Listen, I really need to get back by Monday. I've got budget reports due, and my boss is kind of a stickler about deadlines. Also, you guys blew up my truck, so we're gonna need to talk about that." An ambassador from the warrior caste collapsed. Another began making sounds that the translator rendered as existential screaming. "Play the footage," someone demanded, "from the beginning." Zelax had watched it 47 times already. It didn't get less impossible. The hunt had begun at dawn on Hunt World 7, a desolate moon with minimal atmosphere, toxic flora, and terrain designed to give every advantage to the predator. 3 of the galaxy's most feared hunters had dropped Sarah Jackson, human, female, park ranger from something called Wyoming, into the northern wastes with exactly what they'd promised: a primitive chemical projectile weapon with 10 rounds, 1 metal blade approximately 6 inches long, and the clothes she'd been wearing when they abducted her. The first 5 minutes showed exactly what should have happened. Rahil, Vexthul, and Korvax spread out in perfect hunting formation, using their natural advantages: thermal vision, scent tracking, atmospheric pressure sensing. They had hundreds of years of experience between them. Sarah Jackson had been checking her mail when they grabbed her. "Standard pursuit pattern," Talana narrated, unnecessarily. "Vexthul takes high ground for overview. Korvax flanks from the west, or Hill drives the prey toward the canyon where escape is impossible. The human should fire her weapon in panic, giving away her position, then die within 6 minutes. That's the average for all species." But the footage showed something else entirely. Sarah Jackson ran exactly 30 meters, then stopped. Just stopped. While 3 apex predators closed in for the kill, she stood perfectly still for 15 seconds looking around. "What is she doing?" an ambassador whispered. "I had our xenopsychology team analyze this part 60 times, Zilak said. "Their best guess is that she's mapping the terrain." In 15 seconds? While being hunted by the 3 most dangerous beings in known space? Yes. Then Sarah Jackson did something that made the entire council lean forward. She scooped up mud from a nearby stream, covered herself in it completely, grabbed several of the toxic local plants, and disappeared into the terrain. "The mud blocks thermal vision," Zilax explained. "The plants mask her scent." She identified both countermeasures in under a minute and implemented them while moving. "Impossible," Talana repeated. Those plants are poisonous to 98% of species. Not to humans, apparently. She also determined which ones were edible. She ate 3 different varieties while evading pursuit. The footage jumped forward. Vexathul, the scout, had climbed to his observation point, a rocky outcropping with perfect sight lines. Standard procedure for his species, used successfully for 10,000 years. Sarah Jackson had apparently predicted this. She'd circled back and set up a trap using local vines. 3 rocks and what appeared to be her jacket. When Vexathul took his position, the rocks fell, the vines snapped, and the scout tumbled 90 meters onto additional rocks Sarah had carefully arranged into what humans apparently called pointy end up. She killed Vexathul with rocks, Zilak said. Without firing a shot, without using her knife for combat, she weaponized the terrain itself. That's not hunting, Talana protested. That's planning, said Ambassador Janira, the council's xenobiology expert. That's planning. The human didn't react to the hunt. She predicted it and countered it before it happened. The footage continued. Korvax, enraged by his partner's death, had charged directly at the human's last known position. Korvax massed approximately 300 kilos of pure muscle, natural armor plating, and claws that could shred titanium. Sarah Jackson was hiding in a small cave, and when Korvax charged in, she wasn't there anymore. She dug through the back of the cave, it was only loose rock, and circled around behind him. While he was confused and trapped in the narrow space, she used 4 of her precious bullets. Not on him, on the cave ceiling. The rock collapsed, burying Korvax alive. She used 4 rounds, Zilak said, to bring down approximately 40 tons of rock. She didn't fight him. She removed him from the equation using physics. "What is this species?" someone whispered. The final segment showed Arhel, the War Master, the one who'd conquered 6 systems and never lost a battle. He'd retreated to the flagship, clearly shaken, and tried to bombard the area from orbit. Standard procedure, overwhelming force. When hunting fails, eliminate the problem. Sarah Jackson had somehow made it to the ship first. She'd climbed. The footage showed her free climbing a 100-meter cliff face in less than 8 minutes, crossing 2 kilometers of open terrain while staying invisible to all sensors, and reaching the ship's exterior. "How?" Talana demanded. "We've watched this 50 times. She's never exposed. She never shows up on any scanners. How did she move that fast without being seen?" "She crawled through the drainage systems," Zilak said. "The same ones we use to vent excess water. She figured out our ships have standardized engineering and used it against us. She also," he paused, "was apparently annoyed about this part." He played the audio. Sarah Jackson's voice slightly out of breath. "Okay, seriously? External fuel lines? You guys have interstellar travel and you're running fuel lines on the outside of the ship? That's engineering 101, guys. Come on." 2 shots. Not at the ship. At the external fuel lines she absolutely should not have been able to identify. The flagship's engines exploded. Not the whole ship. Sarah had been precise. Just enough to cripple it and send it into a slow death spiral. Rahil had gone to the surface to confront her personally. The footage showed him in full combat armor, carrying weapons that could level buildings, facing a mud-covered human with a pistol holding 4 rounds. The fight lasted 11 seconds. Sarah Jackson didn't shoot him, she talked to him. "You know what's funny?" Her voice came through clearly. "You guys abducted me on my day off. I was literally about to go camping. This is basically my weekend plan anyway, except usually the wildlife isn't trying to kill me." Usually, Rahil had roared something about honor and combat and the sacred hunt. "Yeah, here's the thing," Sarah said, and the council watched her casually dodge a strike that should have been impossible to see coming. "I don't hunt for sport. I'm a park ranger. I help animals. I protect ecosystems. You know what we do to invasive species that threaten the balance?" She'd used her knife then, not as a weapon. She threw it at a nearby plant cluster, cutting through the stems. The plants released a cloud of spores, the same toxic ones she'd identified as probably defensive mechanism hours earlier. Rahil, in his sealed armor, was fine, until Sarah shot the armor's air filtration system twice, then shot his visor, then shot the emergency seal. The spores did the rest. We removed them from the ecosystem, Sarah said, calmly, retrieving her knife while Rahil suffocated. Nothing personal. The footage ended with Sarah building a fire, cooking something she'd foraged, and humming a tune the translators couldn't identify. The council chamber had descended into chaos. Representatives were shouting in 17 languages. The Predator Council was demanding a recount, a review, an explanation for how their finest hunters had been eliminated by what the galactic database listed as barely sentient minimal threat, no natural weapons. "She's still there," Zilak said. "Our rescue team is afraid to approach." Afraid? Talana's crest flattened in disbelief. "She's one human." "Yes, one human who killed 3 apex predators with 6 bullets and creative environmental manipulation. Our team has requested backup." Janira was reviewing biological data, her tendrils twitching rapidly. "This doesn't match anything in our records. Humans are weak. Slow. Their reaction time is poor compared to most predators. They have no armor, no natural weapons, minimal sensory capabilities. They should be prey animals. They should be extinct." "Perhaps," Zilak said, "we've been measuring the wrong things." He pulled up Earth data, the human homeworld, observed from a safe distance, classified as high gravity, dangerous fauna, extreme environmental variation, avoid contact. "Humans evolved on a death world," he said. "They're not the fastest predators there, not the strongest, not the most venomous or armored or sensory advanced." "Then how did they survive?" someone asked. "They didn't survive through strength. They survived through thinking. Their brains use more energy than any other species we've encountered. They evolved to predict, to plan, to problem solve. Where we evolved claws and armor, they evolved creativity." "That's not a weapon," Talana said. "Isn't it? Sarah Jackson took rocks, plants, mud, and basic chemistry and turned them into a hunting ground where she was the apex predator. She didn't fight the hunters. She made it impossible for them to hunt." The audio feed crackled again. "Hey, rescue team? I can see you guys behind those rocks. I'm not gonna hurt you. I just really need to get home. Also, is that your ship? That's a nice ship. Much better fuel line placement than the last one. Good job." The rescue team leader's voice shook. "Human Sarah Jackson, we are here to retrieve you safely. Please do not move or take hostile action." "Hostile? Dude, I'm sitting by a fire. I'm eating dinner. This is the opposite of hostile. Why is everyone so weird about this?" Zilax made a decision. "Open a direct channel. I'll talk to her." The connection established. Sarah Jackson's face appeared on screen. Young by human standards, covered in mud and what appeared to be plant matter, looking more annoyed than terrified. "Hi," she said. "You the boss?" "I am Council Commander Zilax. We need to understand what happened here." "Oh, that," Sarah shrugged. "Some guys kidnapped me, dropped me on a moon, and tried to hunt me. So I stopped them. What's confusing about that? You killed 3 of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. They were hunting me. What was I supposed to do? Ask nicely for them to stop?" "I tried that. They laughed." "Well, one of them laughed. The other 2 made sounds that were probably their version of laughing." She paused. "Look, I don't want to be rude, but this has been a really long weekend, and I have work tomorrow. Can we speed this up?" Janira leaned into view. "How did you know about the fuel lines?" "Basic engineering? I mean, I've seen your ships before. You guys aren't subtle about visiting Earth. If you're using chemical propulsion as backup, and you've got that hull design, the fuel lines have to run externally or you'd lose interior space. Plus, I could smell the fuel. You guys know humans have decent noses, right? You climbed a 100-meter cliff in 8 minutes. Yeah, that was annoying. Usually I use ropes, but you guys didn't leave me any, so... Another shrug. Free climbing's harder, but whatever. The trap that killed Vexthul required advanced knowledge of physics and engineering. Sarah laughed. It required 3 rocks and gravity. That's like, I teach that to kids. It's basic leverage. Her expression shifted to something more serious. Look, I don't know what kind of prey you guys usually hunt, but humans? We're not prey. We never were. We climbed to the top of the food chain on a planet that was actively trying to kill us. We're not the strongest or the fastest. We're the ones who plan. We're the ones who think 3 steps ahead. We're the ones who turn the environment into a weapon. She stood up, and every ambassador in the council chamber flinched. You gave me 10 rounds and a knife and thought that was limiting me. That's more than I usually carry hiking. You dropped me on a hostile moon and expected me to panic. I go camping for fun. You thought you were hunting me. She smiled, and it wasn't friendly. You weren't. I was hunting you. The silence stretched for several seconds. We need to classify your species, Zillax said finally, for future interactions. Oh good, put us down as leave alone. That would be great. Sarah started walking toward the rescue ship. Seriously though, about my truck. I restored that truck myself. Took me 3 years. If you guys destroyed it, we're gonna have a problem. Talana found her voice. Are you threatening the Galactic Council over a vehicle? Threatening? No. I'm telling you I'm gonna be really annoyed and probably file a complaint, which means paperwork. Do you guys have paperwork? Because I hate paperwork, and if I have to fill out paperwork about this, I'm gonna be in a bad mood for weeks. She reached the rescue ship and stopped at the airlock. Also, do you have any food? Real food? I've been eating survival rations and foraged plants for 2 days. I would literally fight another one of your apex predators for a decent sandwich right now. 3 hours later, Sarah Jackson was on a council ship heading back to Earth, eating what she called not bad for alien food, and completely unaware that she just triggered the largest military and cultural reorganization in galactic history. In the council chamber, emergency protocols were being established at unprecedented speed. New classification for species human, Zillax declared. Threat level, catastrophic. Recommended action, avoid all hunting, combat, or hostile engagement. Reason, apex problem solvers. Treat as peer species with extreme caution. 3 hunters dead, Talana said quietly. 3 species now extinct because they tried to hunt one human who didn't even want to fight, who was annoyed about missing work. The predator worlds need to know, someone said. This changes everything. It does, Janira agreed. We've been categorizing species by strength, speed, natural weapons. We never thought to measure creativity, strategy, the ability to turn anything into an advantage. She looked at the data scrolling across her screen. Humans are adequate at almost everything. Not the best at anything, but adequate at everything means they can combine capabilities in ways we never predicted. They're also stubborn, Zillax added, pulling up Sarah's profile. She was more upset about her vehicle than the assassination attempt. She treated being hunted as an inconvenience. What does that tell us? That to humans, being hunted by the galaxy's finest killers is just a Tuesday. The phrase didn't translate well, but the meaning was clear enough. Sarah Jackson made it home on Monday morning with 3 hours to spare. Her supervisor, who'd received a standard "employee was unexpectedly detained" notice from the council, asked if everything was okay. Yeah, Sarah said, pulling up her budget reports. Just a weird weekend. Went camping, kind of. Met some interesting people. Well, interesting aliens. They weren't great at outdoor safety. Sounds fun. It was different. She paused, then added, Oh, and I might need to file an insurance claim. Some guys blew up my truck. Your truck? The one you restored? Yeah. Sarah's expression darkened. They said they'd compensate me, but I'm not holding my breath. Might have to sue an alien government. That's gonna be weird paperwork, her supervisor laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. Across the galaxy, the Predator Council was instituting new protocols. Warning signs were being distributed in 17 languages. Hunting games were being restructured. 3 species were being mourned. And on Earth, in a small office in Wyoming, Sarah Jackson was filing a formal complaint about her truck and planning her next actual camping trip, the one without aliens trying to kill her. "Much better," she muttered, looking at the park map. "Bears I can handle. Bears don't have spaceships." In Council records, a new note was added to humanity's file: species designation, persistence. Problem solvers. Combat capability, extreme. Primary weapon, creativity. Secondary weapons, everything else. Recommended action, diplomatic contact only. Never engage in hunting scenarios. Never underestimate. Never destroy their vehicles. The last note was added after Sarah's formal complaint landed on Zilax's desk with what humans apparently called legal letterhead. He approved the compensation immediately. Something told him that annoying Sarah Jackson further would be a catastrophically bad idea. The galaxy had learned many lessons that day. The most important, humans weren't apex predators. They were worse. They were the species that turned apex predators into cautionary tales, then went back to filing paperwork and complaining about their weekends.